Good morning everyone, and today we will be going over my research for the stock DMYI, which is a SPAC or Special Purpose Acquisition Company merging with the Quantum Computing Company IonQ. IonQ has some of the best quantum computing technology today, and it is the only pure play quantum computing play on the public markets right now, which makes IonQ a very unique company. I think DMYI Technology Group has made a great decision to merge with IonQ. I'm going to make this video as quick and straight to the point as possible, so I will be going through all of my notes that I have accumulated really quickly, and then after that I will go more in depth on all of the notes I have. And then after that I will talk a little bit about my investment plan for DMYI. Before I go into my notes, I want to say that quantum computing is extremely hard to understand. It's even hard to interpret just how powerful quantum computing technology is and the multitude of problems it can solve. Even though it is incredibly hard to understand, I am going to do my best in this video to explain this technology. Just bear in mind that I do not 100% know what I'm talking about when it comes to quantum computing. Alright, so as you can see, I have my notes pulled up on screen, and I'm going to go through all of this really quickly, and then after that I'll go back and skim through the investor presentation and go more in depth on a couple notes that I have here. So here's a link to the investor presentation, and then I also have a sheet with market cap and price to sales ratios, which we will go through later. And then the first note here is benchmark initiated coverage on DMYI Technology Group Inc. 3 with a buy rating and announced a price target of $18. The IonQ CEO expects more analyst coverage. IonQ runs on Google, Amazon, and Microsoft cloud platforms. IonQ is the only public pure-play quantum opportunity. Quantum has long been touted as the next frontier in technology. Such computers will be capable of simulating and understanding phenomena in the natural world instantly and providing the basis for systems that are unhackable. Intel Corp and Microsoft Corp, among other companies, are also working to advance quantum computing. The technology also has potential implications for producing new materials or creating new drugs. IonQ adds integration with Google Circ, making IonQ's leading systems operable with all major quantum software frameworks. Dave Bacon, who was head of Google's quantum division and one of the authors of the Bacon-Shor quantum algorithm, left Google to join IonQ. Quantum computing is to artificial intelligence what nuclear weapons are to bombs. This shows just how early we are in the development of quantum computing, as artificial intelligence has still not been fully developed and accepted. While quantum technology will take years to scale, the race is on to build the software and hardware infrastructure today. The race to such technology will be a defining theme of the decade to come, and the stakes could not be higher. Quantum computing will take years to fully develop and accept, but the company that leads the industry will likely see immense growth in the near future. IonQ started as a research project about 10 years ago, as a business about 6 years ago by Morris Monroe, who was head of quantum physics at the University of Maryland, College Park, and Jungsung Kim, professor of quantum physics and electrical engineering at Duke University, formerly of Bell Labs, who wanted to build the most powerful quantum computer using trapped ytterbium atoms, a unique method that reduces the overall space required to create a quantum computer without losing loss in quantum power. This is an interesting method because, unlike other methods, i.e. those done by Google, IBM, etc., the trapped ion method comes from nature and builds quantum qubits on a small chip. The company is working on error reduction in the first phase of quantum computing. It will enter phase 2 by perfecting error correction. Their trapped ion method has many advantages, including low error correction, which gives them an advantage over competitors. IonQ has the most advanced quantum method in quantum volume alone. Definition of quantum volume is a metric that measures the capabilities and error rates of a quantum computer. Quantum computers will likely have millions and millions of applications in the future. IonQ's hardware is also available in the cloud through Amazon and Microsoft, along with Google, making it the only company available on 3 different platforms. IonQ is currently in phase 1 of quantum computing, and according to the CEO, Peter Chapman, IonQ is farthest ahead in phase 1, relative to all other quantum computing companies. Peter Chapman says IonQ has the best fidelity in the business, which allows them to run the biggest programs on their quantum computers. Fidelity is a measure of the closeness of two quantum states. It expresses the probability that one state will pass a test to identify as the other. Phase 2 is error correction. IonQ is the only company that has shown error correction working in quantum computers. According to the CEO, IonQ is leading in Phase 2 as well. Phase 2 quantum computers could have the ability to take on the world's largest supercomputers. Phase 3 is the end goal for quantum computers and will be able to do what supercomputers could never do. IonQ partnered with SoftBank, which will help IonQ bring computers into Japanese and Asian markets. SoftBank has taken a position in IonQ, and the two companies will work together moving forward. In the short term, it is likely IonQ will not have many competitors. The way IonQ plans to make money is to build quantum computers, which now cost around $1.3 million, and charge per hour to use them. They can currently charge thousands of dollars per hour for their quantum computers. They expect manufacturing costs to decrease and usage to increase moving forward. The $616 million in cash IonQ will receive from this merger will be used to help them break even in 2027. They do not plan to raise any more capital until then. On their investor presentation, they estimate to be net income positive in 2025. One downside to quantum computers is they can easily break the encryption that many industries use today. Could this mean that we will see regulation with quantum computers? This is just a thought that I had after finding this out. I see IonQ as being very high risk reward right now. If the company ends up meeting or surpassing all of their expectations, I don't see how this stock wouldn't 100 times. But the fact remains that there are still massive developments to be made in the quantum computing industry, and if IonQ fails at making those developments, I believe there's a chance of a near 100% loss. Now, while there is progress being made in quantum computing, we can't jump the gun and think it's going to completely replace all computers in the next 5 years. From what I found, there are still many issues to work out in quantum computing, and there are probably problems with quantum computing that we haven't even discovered yet. So that was all of my notes. I just went through those really quickly, and before we go back and go more in depth on some of this stuff, I want to remind you guys to like the video if you're enjoying, and also be sure to subscribe to the channel. My only goal with this channel is to provide you guys with value, knowledge, and entertainment, and if you subscribe to the channel, that helps me continue to do just that. Alright, so now let's look at some of this information here more in depth. First off, we are going to go through the investor presentation really quickly. I'm just going to skim through and show you guys a few things that I think are important. Obviously, you all have access to the investor presentation, so you can look at it on your own time as well. This is the CEO of DMYI Technology Group, and this is the chairman of DMYI Technology Group. And as you can see, they have some of their experiences listed below here. This is the transaction overview, and right here you can see the equity value is around $2 billion. And right here you can see that they will have $616 million in cash added to their balance sheet after the merger. And this is the CEO of IonQ, Peter Chapman. And here are some of the stats of IonQ. They have 61 patents and patent applications. They have spent a total of $49 million. They have 63 employees. Founded in 2015, and they have received $84 million in venture capitalist investment. And here are some of their investors. You can see they have some pretty big name investors right here. And here are a few of the reasons why they say they are winning in the quantum computing space. They have the most usable qubits. They have the highest quantum volume by many orders of magnitude. They have the best error correction overhead. The system's getting smaller each generation. They are the only commercial system running at room temperature. They have the only systems available on both AWS and Azure. They have support for most major quantum SDKs and plans for more. They did the first known simulation of water to approach chemical accuracy. These are the expected phases of quantum computing maturity. Phase 1 is error reduction, and this is the phase that IonQ is in right now, and phase 2 is error correction, and they're actually the first quantum computing company to prove that error correction works. And phase 3, which IonQ is not in yet, is basically the pinnacle of what a quantum computer could be, and a phase 3 quantum computer would be able to do things that supercomputers today would never be able to do. This slide shows just how far ahead IonQ is compared to their competitors. This shows the potential quantum volume by vendor, and IonQ's potential quantum volume is almost 4.2 million, whereas all of their competitors have not even reached 300 yet. This shows projected growth, and as you can see, they expect their revenue to grow at a CAGR of 150%, which is crazy. If they're actually able to do this, that would be very surprising. They expect to go from $5 million in revenue in 2021 to $522 million in 2026. They're expected to be EBITDA positive in 2025. And as you can see here, they expect the revenue to really jump in 2025. And then this is their forecasted financial data. They expect to be net income positive in 2025. But as we can see from the free cash flow here, they don't expect to generate any cash for the foreseeable future. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, so that was it for the investor presentation. And now we'll move on to the market cap and price to sales ratios sheet that I have set up. We can see here that their current share price is $9.92. They have a pro forma shares outstanding of 199 million, which gives them a market cap of around $2 billion. And we saw from the investor presentation, their 2021 revenue is expected to be $5 million, which gives them a 2021 price to sales ratio of almost 400, which is extremely high. In 2022, that's expected to go down to 131 price to sales ratio, which is still very high. 2023, still high at 58. But yeah, this price to sales ratio is extremely high, and I am assuming that is because people are paying for the growth that they're expected to see if they are able to execute on everything they plan to, and if they are able to develop quantum computing in the way they want to, then yes, I can see that this would be reasonable. But quantum computing has a long ways to go. So I think that these price to sales ratios are insanely high for this company right now, but I could be wrong. They have AMD and Nvidia as their competitors, which doesn't really make sense because these are not really quantum computing plays. But as you can see, these companies have a 7.8 times 2021 estimated revenue and a 16.3 times 2021 estimated revenue. If we go back to this sheet, IonQ has a almost 400 times 2021 price to sales ratio. So it is still extremely overvalued compared to these companies, but these companies really are not quantum computing plays. So that is why I didn't actually put them on these sheets. I didn't actually put anything here. But yeah, that's about it for this sheet. Basically just really high price to sales ratios and then a $2 billion market cap. All right, so moving on. Benchmark initiated a coverage on DMYI Technology Group with a buy rating and a price target of $18. And as you saw from the previous sheets, their current share price is $9.92. So that is almost a 100% increase. The CEO expects more analyst coverage. I am not sure how they came to this price target of $18. But this is good to see for IonQ. This is a very bullish sign. So we'll see if there's any more analyst coverage, and we'll see what kind of price targets IonQ gets in the future. Dave Bacon, who was head of Google's quantum division and one of the authors of the Bacon-Shor quantum algorithm, left Google to join IonQ. This was something I found interesting, and I think this is a very good sign for IonQ and that they are doing something right, because if a quantum computing expert from Google leaves Google to join IonQ, I think that means that he saw IonQ as an opportunity for more growth. So I think that is a very good sign for the company. This right here is a quote from a Forbes article, and it says, "While quantum technology will take years to scale, the race is on to build the software and hardware infrastructure today. The race to such technology will be a defining theme of the decade to come, and the stakes could not be higher." Basically, what this is saying is that the main goal is to build infrastructure for quantum computing so that future quantum computing developers will have something to go off of. Now, I think it would be really good if IonQ was able to do something like this, and considering they are the leading company in quantum computing right now, I would like to see them start to make some infrastructure, and I think that is something they are starting to do by partnering with Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. So yeah, pretty much the company that is able to set up infrastructure right now will likely end up having the most success in the short term. IonQ started as a research project about 10 years ago by Chris Monroe and Jungsung Kim. They wanted to build the most powerful quantum computer using trapped ytterbium atoms, which is a unique method that reduces the overall space required to create a quantum computer without seeing loss in quantum power. And this is interesting because it shows that IonQ uses a unique method of quantum computing. And this could end up giving them an advantage over competitors if it truly does reduce the overall space required to make a quantum computer without any loss in quantum power. And another quote from this Forbes article says that IonQ has the most advanced quantum method on quantum volume alone. And the definition of quantum volume is a metric that measures the capabilities and error rates of a quantum computer. So we can see here that they have the best error rates of any quantum computer out there right now. According to the CEO, Peter Chapman, IonQ is the farthest ahead in phase 1 relative to all other quantum computing companies. He also says that IonQ has the best fidelity in the business, which allows them to run the biggest programs on their quantum computers. And fidelity is a measure of the closeness of two quantum states. It expresses the probability that one state will pass a test to identify as the other. And also the fact that the CEO said they are the farthest ahead in phase 1 is good, but there's really no solid evidence actually proving this. This is just the CEO's words, so keep that in mind. And this was good to see. IonQ partnered with SoftBank, which will help bring IonQ computers into Japanese and Asian markets. SoftBank has taken a position, IonQ and the two companies will work together moving forward. I think this shows that IonQ is really looking to expand their company, and the Japanese and Asian markets I think will be really good for quantum computers, especially since the Asian markets in general are expected to grow a ton in the next decade or so. Now the CEO also said that IonQ does not plan to raise any more cash after this merger, and that's kind of a bold statement because they are spending a lot of money to build these quantum computers, and honestly, nobody is really certain how long it will be till quantum computers are fully developed and accepted on a large scale. So I hope that after this merger they won't really need any more funding, but I feel like that may end up changing if they're not able to make significant progress in the next couple of years. Now this was interesting too. A downside to quantum computers is they can easily break the encryption that many industries use today. And when I heard this, my thought immediately was, will there be any regulation for quantum computers? Because if they're able to hack all these online security encryptions with the snap of a finger basically, I feel like they would almost have to be regulated, because if they end up in the wrong hands, then that could be a huge problem. And what's also interesting is that quantum computers could easily solve the algorithm that controls the supply of Bitcoin. So anyone who has a quantum computer could instantly mine all the Bitcoin that is currently not mined. Or at least that is what I heard. I could be wrong on that, but still, I think that's pretty interesting how quantum computers could likely just solve the algorithm that Bitcoin runs on. And this last note I think is pretty important. While progress is being made in quantum computing, we can't jump the gun and think it's going to completely replace all computers in the next year or even 5 years. From what I've found, there are still many issues to work out in quantum computing, and there are probably problems with quantum computing that we haven't even discovered yet. It does need to be kept in mind that the quantum computing industry is extremely small now, and the developments that have been made in quantum computing are impressive, but there are many more that still need to be made, and with more developments could come more problems. And also, I think that regulation probably needs to be kept in mind as well. So yeah, I think this last note is pretty important to keep in mind, as there are always things that could go wrong, especially with something with quantum computing, because it is just so extremely complex. Alright, so now that I've gone through my notes on DMYI, I'm going to talk a little bit about my investment plan. And DMYI is a stock that I will probably not be investing in, and the reason I say that is because of how young the quantum computing industry still is. IonQ may be ahead of the game, but there is so much that still needs to be learned about quantum computing. There are massive developments that still need to be made, and like I said before, there are probably problems in quantum computing that we haven't even discovered yet because of how early we are in the development of quantum computers. So we really don't know when quantum computing will be fully developed and fully accepted. And the fact remains that IonQ has a limited amount of capital to run on, and the longer it takes for them to make developments, I'm assuming the less likely they are to get more investment capital. So in my mind, there is the risk of a complete loss with this investment. However, I could be wrong, and if they end up meeting or beating their estimated growth, then the rewards could be out of this world. But for me specifically, I see that risk as being a little too high right now. Please keep in mind that I am not a financial advisor. None of this is meant to be financial advice whatsoever, and always be sure to do your own research. And with that being said, that was my research on DMYI stock. So leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and also make sure to subscribe to the channel. My only goal with this channel is to provide you guys with value, knowledge, and entertainment. And if you subscribe to the channel, you are helping me continue to do so, and you're also making sure you don't miss out on future videos. Also, one last thing, if you guys think there is anything that I can improve in these videos, make sure to leave a suggestion in the comment section. It would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and as always, I will see you in the next one.